Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys and the Sounds in Cinema podcast.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
We'll play it safe.
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast, or welcome back.
Broncos. Hello and welcome or welcome back.
Oh, okay. We have, Irish gangs and Asian gangs.
Kanji Club, yeah. Tell it to Kanji Club. Yeah, well, they're Scottish. I gotta correct that, sorry.
Oh, yeah, they're Scottish, you're right.
Very definitely a Scot. I have to, as half a Scot myself, I have to say that. I can't let that pass. This is it. You have this nice moment where Han Solo suddenly turns into Obi-Wan Kenobi when he hears Luke's name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he finally. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it counts as character development that. And this is interesting because of him saying it's all true. Because that's again like it's the Indiana Jones problem. We never got that moment with Indiana Jones where he would just go, "Listen, I believe in fantasy." Okay?
Yeah, right.
But we'll have Han Solo do it, where he's like, "It's actually real." Okay, all the spooky wizard shit is real.
Yeah.
And they have this nice moment, and it gets interrupted by tentacle nonsense.
Yes, right.
In a set piece that I think is more gratuitous than the droid factory in Attack of the Clones.
Well, I'm not going to agree with that, but I understand the sentiment. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, and it's partly what really annoys me when they bring legacy characters from a franchise back in, is that immediately they start talking about the plot of the new movie they're in, and it just feels like such a waste of their time. Like, I felt the same thing when Michael Keaton's Batman in The Flash. Like, he comes in, he says the catchphrase, and immediately he's talking about the stupid plot of this movie.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, I don't want to hear him talk about multiverses and...
Sure.
In the same way, I don't want Han Solo to be talking about, the Kanji Club and the Rathtars, and it just feels like a waste of his and our time. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it gets me. It gets me like, he should not be having to do this.
What should he be doing?
Being Han Solo and being part of a fucking story that matters.
Okay, fine.
And I mean, even if it just went straight to the Let's Find Luke story, even that story doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
This part of this story definitely doesn't matter.
No,
the fact that the only moment I like in it, because it's a sort of like a backdoor way of kind of rebutting the Greedo shoots first without pissing off George Lucas, is when he throws the guy into the Rathtor tentacles.
Right.
Because it's just sort of like, we're not literally saying that, like, we're not saying the Greedo didn't shoot first, but on this occasion, Han Solo was fully prepared to
throw you into the mouth of a monster
to save himself.
Rathtar. Rathtar can.
And I thought that was
so
a nice way of dealing
safe.
with it in a way that George Lucas wouldn't necessarily notice that he was being dissed.
Yeah.
But it's just tentacle nonsense.
Yeah.
For a while. And again, like
and also there's convenient storytelling. These things are eating everybody except Finn.
Yeah.
Finn they'll just carry around for a while.
And then they try and they add that line, they have the moment at the end of the Scottish guy contacting the First Order, or so they're like, oh, that was what it was all for.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, like, would it have been better if it was just a big waste of time? It's kind of worse that we do all this just for that one moment.
Yeah, there's a real problem in this movie, and we're not there. But this moment should teach our characters to keep BB-8 the fuck out of everybody's sight. That's what they're cluing into. And they keep bringing them everywhere, which keeps bringing the Empire / New Order? Is that what it is? First Order.
First Order, no. New Order is
that's a band.
80s new wave group. Artists who produced the best World Cup song of all time. Yes, that was New Order. The First Order is a neo-fascist organization based on the Imperial Order. But
okay, why? I mean, do you have anything else to say about this battle? I mean, they hyperspace out of the fucking freighter, and that's it.
Yeah. Well,
it's just like it's a big kind of annoying set piece with lots of nonsense. Yeah. It's my least favorite part of this movie.
The only other thing that I think shows the level that this movie's working at is the sort of the moment of Han Solo using Chewbacca's crossbow.
Yeah.
Because it's pure fan fiction, and it's just like a waste of those two characters, and it's sort of like you can see the sort of toy logic of it as well. Like, now we can sell a Han Solo with a crossbow.
I mean, I never think about that, but
it's like what character development do we see from Han Solo in this movie? Well, he learns that Chewie's crossbow is a good weapon.
Yeah.
What? Some of these movies are about.
I want to talk about why holograms are so fucking big now. Because right after this, we see Snoke.
Listen, I don't know if Johnson saw this and was like, you know what would be funny? If this giant hologram turned out just to be a normal-sized guy.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite parts of The Last Jedi. Where it's just a normal-sized guy. And he just projects himself big. But I think J.J. Abrams is hedging his bet, sister. We don't quite know what Snoke is yet. Maybe he is a giant. I don't know. Maybe he's like the BFG.
Okay.
We don't know.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not just Snoke. All the holograms are really big in all of these movies.
Oh, well, no, some of them are big, some of them are small. There's that little mini Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back on the dashboard of the Warp.
No, that's what I mean. I mean these three.
Oh, these three movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they only big holograms? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they're all huge.
Oh, interesting.
I thought to myself, well, where's the little ones? Where's little Leia? Where's little Vader? And that little, They weren't
little Vader holograms.
Yeah.
With his hands on his hips, all impatient.
Yeah. You could still get character work from him. Like, I am unhappy.
Oh,
anyway.
I mean, the variety of... Well, if you want a variety of hologram sizes, look no further than a little film called The Phantom Menace.
All right, settle down.
I feel like that's the film for you, based on what you just said.
It is my favorite of those three.
Yeah, there we go. Then that's probably why, because you got the hologram that walks as well. You got the hologram with the spider legs and everything. Well, once they get back into the Falcon, it's become like a fan museum. It's a Star Wars museum on the Falcon.
Yeah, right.
It's like
we got the monster chess.
Yeah. Well, the monster chest. We got the training onion ball.
Yeah.
We've already had Chewie's crossbow. The only thing I don't like about their use of Chewie in these trilogies is that they're constantly like toying with our affections for him by injuring him, making him seem like he's dead, and then walking that back. It's like I just feel like that's toying with people's emotions because we're so attached to this character. We don't want anything bad to happen to him, and yet the movie wants to kind of exploit that for cheap.
I don't think they want to exploit that. I think they... I mean, you might be right. I think they want it.
They want you to think that he's the one who's going to die and Han Solo's going to survive in this movie.
Oh, I look at it more as like they just want to show that the actual danger is actually dangerous. So somebody will get injured.
I like the fact that he nearly throttles Finn to death. I think that's great because again, I think we've always underestimated the strength of Wookiees in the series compared to what we're told about what they can do.
Right.
And that's what I loved about Solo. Is it's like finally we see the Chewbacca that pulls people's arms off.
Yeah.
And I get that sense of danger from him here in a way you don't necessarily get before. Like he's a real physical threat, and not just the happy dog.
Yeah, right.
But he is still the happy dog. And
Yeah.
about him. Yeah, I've described it as a fan fiction fantasy camp on the Falcon that Rey is attending. Yeah, and then we go to Snoke Starkiller based. And he says The Last Jedi. So once again, The Last Jedi would have been a better title for this movie because the line The Last Jedi is in the movie. And he's a giant before he wasn't. And Starkiller Base is, even before it's revealed to be this, in the world of the movie itself, is Death Star 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then they blow up the Republic. Right?
Is that what it is?
They blow up the How have you forgot this aspect of the movie? It's the only thing in the movie that really matters. They blow up the government planet, the government system. I mean, they never say Coruscant, but either it's Coruscant or they've moved Coruscant.
I was just going to ask. So that was Coruscant?
It's wherever the New Republic government is located now.
Okay.
They blew up that planet, and I believe its surrounding system. So central government is gone in the galaxy.
I never understand anything about the government in these fucking movies.
Well, that's pretty clear. The First Order blow it all up. And it's like, okay, we're in charge now. It's actually all that really matters in this movie is that one scene. Because that changes the dynamics of the power dynamic of the galaxy.
I'm not sure I even ever put it together that it was Coruscant and the government.
What?
I thought it was just a random
It's
planet.
the only thing high stakes that happens in the entire movie.
They do.
That changes everything.
They do have that close-up of that woman that always gets me when I watch this movie. Like, because she's seeing the other planets get destroyed, and then when the Rey comes to the planet she's on, I feel viscerally for her terror and fright.
Okay. But what that means is there ain't no government no more.
Got it.
So the idea is that the resistance is like they're kind of like say, look, we're going around calling ourselves the resistance, but we're representing the New Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And the First Order have figured that out, and so they go, okay, so let's just take out the New Republic and then blame it on the resistance. Resistance attack us, so we're going to attack the New Republic because Resistance and the New Republic are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the story the movie should be telling. However, it's a story that I have figured out by context clues.
That's great.
Yeah, and well, I guess we've talked a little bit about Snoke. We think he's at this point. We think he's a giant, maybe.
Right.
A giant before he wasn't. And he's very, he's very much the new emperor before it was revealed that that's exactly what he was. That he was a literal clone gone wrong of the emperor.
Mm.
And again, I don't know if that's exactly. Again, that's headcanon, but that's what I interpret Snoke in a tank to mean.
Okay.
But he's very Palpatine anyway, even before they retconned it that way. Like right down to the sort of like the childlike sarcasm. And it's also the scene where they give up the ghost on Kylo Ren being Han Solo Jr.
Yeah.
And I don't know is it ever said, I mean, obviously context clues, but is it ever said that Leia's his mother? Out loud in the movie?
Yeah, well, later they're talking with each other.
Well, she says, "That's my son."
Yeah, they're...
But no one ever says...
They're talking with each other,
Her
and
mother
he
is
says something like, "Our son
General Organa.
I saw
Yeah.
our son."
I guess that's enough. But it's a bit weird that they make a big deal of him being I guess because he ends up killing Han Solo.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they make such a big deal of it. It's a good. It's a good time to do this twist. No point in prevaricating at this point.
Yeah. No.
And Rey's kind of she's not just a Mary Sue, she's also a Deus Ex Machina. Like, literally, she can she's a physical manifestation of all kinds of bad storytelling ideas in one figure.
What do you mean?
Well, she can it's not only that she can do everything perfectly, she can correct other people's mistakes and figure out and get right the movie out of a corner as well, like a Deus Ex Machina does.
What are we talking about? Ripping that thing out of the panel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good joke, though.
Because Han Solo didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is I'm mistaken. Han makes two speeches. He makes the speech. He's like, Luke, crazy old Luke. Words to that effect. Then he gets interrupted by the tentacle nonsense, and then they show the map fragment.
Yeah.
And you go, meh. I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
That's it.
What?
Yeah. And it's sort of like, peace. And it's interesting because the next two movies essentially like the same story. We've got a piece of the treasure map.
Yeah, right.
Let's try and get to the next piece.
Or we have to find the piece of the treasure map.
Yeah. Until we realize that we don't need the treasure map. Nor is the treasure anything we need. So they keep doing that story. And this is the moment where Han relinquishes his skepticism.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's almost like the scene would only work if there was a history in the canon of Han Solo was like on trial for not believing in the Force. And then 30 years later he comes out and does a kind of Louis C.K. style apology.
Mm-hmm.
Non-apology. It's like, yes, I did flash my penis in front of young women who didn't ask for that to happen. But you know what? I think it's okay in the big scheme of things.
In the big scheme of things.
That's what I got from Louis C.K.'s non-apology. But anyway, so yeah, it's just weird. Like, it seems so like this is what people want him to this is the assumption that fans want him to say this, but I never wanted to see Han Solo relinquish his Force skepticism particularly. Mm-hmm. Like, I assumed he did, but I don't need him to confess. Like he's a part of a witch hunt or something, and he's like, Goody Proctor told me.
I think it's fine that he has at least come to realize that it's not hocus pocus mumbo jumbo. That it exists.
Is that supposed to be character development? Is that why they do it?
I don't know that it's character development, but
so why is it there? I genuinely don't understand why it's there.
Well, I think it's there because they've decided to make all our new characters not know if any of it was real or myth or legend or made up or just stories told. And they need one person to say, no, it's all real.
Because I understand why the Empire wouldn't want the public to know that they were really the Sith, but I don't know why the New Republic wouldn't want people to know that the Jedi weren't back.
Well, they're not back.
Well, they were trying to reform.
Yes, they're trying to find Luke.
Well, yeah, they do talk about they're training Kylo Ren. Doesn't he mention that he's training a new generation of Jedi in this movie? Okay.
I don't know if that's that's not talked about. That's the next movie. think.
But is that? But that's talked about. I know that that's what they eventually say. But I think they say in this movie that because we've got Han Solo's account. Doesn't seem like he really cares what Luke does, but he sort of says he was. Or is it just that he was looking for the first Jedi temple? Is that the only thing that
maybe
he reveals? Okay, so maybe they hadn't decided yet. But anyway, it doesn't make sense that the Jedi are now a myth.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I think.
The same, but the same accusation, what the prequels did, where in the original Star Wars, the Jedi's have become a myth within 30 years, and subsequent Star Wars media has told us that about 3 people were killed in that Jedi genocide, and the galaxy's still full of Jedis everywhere.
They're all over the place.
Feels like there's more of them than there was in the prequels, actually.
I know.
So they go to the... Han Solo says, we're going to go see an old friend.
Old friend that we've never seen before.
It turns out not to be Lando.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the only name that comes to mind. But it takes them a while to get to to Maz's. Was it Maz's palace? What's the name of the place?
I think it's a bar.
Yeah, it's the cantina. Let's call it what it is. Because we have he has to. Finn tries to
leave.
Front. No, Finn tries to front. Oh, that happens in a bit when they get to the bar. But he says to Han Solo,
yeah.
Resistance, and Han figures it out and says, "Women always figure
out the truth."
Sounds like an Indiana Jones line, not a Han Solo line. And then we get all the stuff about where it's revealed Rey.
He offers her a job, and
she says, "I gotta wait for my."
Gives her a gun
for my parents. Instead of Lando or the Cantina, we get surrogates of both.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you went to see a band who said they were going to do a greatest hits concert and they did only new material.
Well, and then Maz appears to not be a Jedi but knows an awful lot about the Force. She actually gives a pretty good Force speech. The kind of Force speech we liked in the original series as opposed to talking about fucking midichlorians.
And is the idea of Maz it's like we track through the not Cantina, and we're still expecting Lando actually for that matter, but it's not even like the guy behind the bar, it's the person, it's the one of the little aliens from the Cantina is the person we're there to find. Is that the kind of idea behind it? That's
I think it is her bar though. I think she's in charge.
No, I know, but we come upon her and she's a little alien carrying a tray. But we just because we're racist in how we watch fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So and the Cantina has trained us just to go, oh, look at those stupid aliens.
Yeah.
And then one of the stupid aliens is the person
we're looking for. Okay.
Yeah. And they've never kind of figured out how to redo the Cantina. It always falls flat. This is not as bad as subsequent attempts.
Pretty good compared to other attempts, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still very public domain. Someone kind of looks like Jabba.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who kind of looks like Jabba's showgirl. There's an animatronic robot, which I'm always up for, but he does look like he was made by children. But
I like that it at least looks lived in. It looks like a real place.
Oh yeah. It looks like it does. It looks like a real place.
And then Rey starts hearing voices and going downstairs and finding lightsabers and
we open our very first mystery box.
Yeah, sees a bunch of Jedi shit.
Well, it's a literal mystery box.
Mm-hmm.
We actually open a mystery box and the contents of which will never be explained in this trilogy. So it's the epitome of the mystery box.
But I also,
we never find out how she got Luke's lightsaber.
Right, exactly. So we never get that story in any of these movies. We don't understand Maz's connection to everybody and everything.
We're told it's a story for another time,
Yeah.
which is a lie.
Which turns out to not be true.
Yeah, I mean, this is what J.J. Abrams does. This is his style of story, his patented style of storytelling. It's Deal or No Deal, the movie.
Sorry.
It is!
Yeah.
The narrative style of J.J. Abrams it can be mapped onto the format of Deal or No Deal. One of these boxes contains gold, the rest are empty. Actually, I'm thinking of the 30 Rock version. What is it, the gold case?
Yeah, right.
It's like, which one of these suitcases contains gold? And it's the one guy struggling to hold onto it because it's so heavy. Yeah. But I guess this is actually the second mystery box, because the first mystery box is Ray's parents.
Yeah.
Which is a mystery box that is opened, closed, then reopened. Each time with different contents. It's like a magic trick.
Yes.
It's a rabbit. Now it's the Ace of Spades. Now it's a human
bus.
head. And then, but you're right, this is the point where Finn decides he's going to leave the battle for reasons best known to himself.
Yes.
I don't truly understand.
It seems to be his arc. He's got to learn to not run away and to not be afraid.
By running away.
But he does that by running away constantly.
It feels like they're just making bold, senseless choices only to walk them back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should never buy into anything any drastic action that a character makes at any point in this movie, because it's going to be walked back 5 minutes later.
But like I said before, they're dumb enough to bring BB-8 into this place, so immediately everybody's fucking calling the troops in.
The First Order hotline.
Yeah, exactly. First Order hotline, how can I help you? Yeah, I'm seeing that
Our
fucking robot.
switchboard's a jam, sir. We've got callbacks on 7 different lines. Yeah. And what do you think about this weird sort of flashback / dream sequence? So we broke the seal on this in Revenge of the Sith with Anakin's dreams.
Right.
Well, I guess Empire Strikes Back in the cave, that's a kind of a fantasy sequence. It's kind of a dream.
Yeah, it has more purpose, though. I mean, it's separate. It's
I'm not saying that any of this has purpose. I'm trying to, like, stylistically, is this kind of like building on that dimension?
Well, that's the thing about this.
It's gonna go crazy. There's gonna be flashbacks and dream sequences aplenty in the next 2 movies.
Yeah, and I think that's, the inconsistencies about the Force between these 3 trilogies is dramatic. It's hard to put a finger on all of it because, we're told in the original series that Luke is too old to start training, and we're like, okay, so if you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, if you're in that range, you're too old. And then you go to the original, or not the original, but the prequels, and all of a sudden there's like infants fucking training as Jedis, and you start thinking, well, how
out of the womb,
how fucking long does this go on for? And then you meet Rey, and she apparently, maybe she's strung with the Force, but she doesn't have any training for anything, but can do everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And with these movies, the ability to, like, wield the lightsaber is the big thing. And, it takes Luke, like...
They lower the bar each time.
2 movies to bring a saber to his hand, and in this movie she can do it in the first 10 minutes. So are we saying she's just a better Jedi? It's all just uneven and weird.
Well, they just lower the bar, like,
yes, right.
Chronologically, the in the prequels, Jedi's trained for years. Luke trains for days.
Yeah,
And
see, in this
trains
trilogy
doesn't
and
train.
the original trilogy, it would seem you could become a Jedi over the matter of a couple of weeks by running through forests or swamps and making rocks float. Like, that's all you need.
Again, Snoke has some great notes on this in The Last Jedi.
But to go back
we haven't
to your
even got to the most
question, I think these dreams are almost so hard to see that they seem inconsequential. I think I like the way they're filmed better than the prequels, though. I kind of remember a sort of
it was like a cloud,
cloudish, yeah.
It was very Arabian Nights.
Yeah. But it's enough to get her scared enough that she's gonna leave as well. And then when she leaves, Finn comes back.
I know. As I say, it's pointless investing in anything that anyone does.
Yeah.
Because we're going to walk it back 5 minutes later. They talk about blowing up the Republic before, but this is where they actually do it after the Trump inauguration speech.
That is a way over the top speech.
I like the Trump inauguration speech, yeah.
I mean, this is some of the worst acting I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie. And I've seen the prequels.
Cheap shot. In
the
words of Luke Skywalker in the next movie, that was a cheap move.
Cheap move.
Love that scene. Yeah, and I guess it's Starkiller Base is new and improved because it can destroy systems, not just planets. So
and suck up suns.
That's what Death Star 3 brings to the table. And it felt to me like a very Mission Impossible, Brian De Palma's Mission Impossible movie, where he kills the ensemble in the first few minutes. It's sort of like, we don't want to deal with the New Republic, let's just blow it up.
Okay.
And make it back to Star Wars where it was like, that Battlestar Galactica quality of it. Like, these are the only surviving people fighting in the galaxy.
Yeah, they have a speech there with Tarkin about we don't have to worry about the Republic.
Because that's what they dissolved the Senate, so essentially they just go Senate, so this is the same move, except they're also like, and we just don't want to have to deal with it.
All right.
Coruscant was a prequels thing. We're not going to get any mileage out of it, which is a mistake because both Andor and The Mandalorian have done stuff with Coruscant that's actually been great. So I think that was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But if indeed this is Coruscant's never said out loud whether that's what it is. Yeah, they moved Coruscant 3 miles down the road.
You did that on your own. So it's an interesting thought, but I never thought that.
They never say it out loud because this movie, they warm up a little bit in the second and third, but this movie is very prequel light. This is very much the prequels never happened Star Wars. There's only one mention of it earlier when they talk about, and they just so they can retcon the clone army bit, where Hux and Ren have the conversation about why don't you go back to the idea of a clone army,
right?
And Hux says no, our child soldiers are better, and so it's like that's the only prequel reference in the entire, unless you count the Sith as a prequel creation, because they refer to the Sith quite a lot.
Lots of Sith talk.
Lots of Sith talk. Even Maz, she's like, the Sith, the Empire, the First Order, they're all the same. Handily, for our purposes. We don't have to distinguish between them.
All right, well, the Resistance... the First Order shows up. Kylo Ren shows up. He's chasing Ren in the forest. Rey.
Yeah, a girl is still such a rarity in the Star Wars universe that Kylo Ren can track someone with that description across the galaxy. She's the only other woman in Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
Let's go find her.
That scene, though, when he's following her in the forest and it's that sort of nook that actually reminded me of the cave moment in Empire.
It reminded me of that weird bit in Moonraker where they...
And a little bit of Predator.
That Hammer horror moment where they set the hounds on Drax's secretary.
Uh-huh.
And it suddenly looks like a Terrence Fisher movie.
I get a little Predator, too.
Yeah. Han Solo does a very cool move where he shoots someone without looking,
Yeah.
which Adam Driver calls back in the third movie.
He does?
Yeah, he does like he does. Well, we'll get there, but he there's two tributes to Harrison Ford in that movie, which only makes me love him more. And they're the two of the best things about Harrison Ford as well.
All right.
And then Finn gets to play around with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everyone gets to play with whatever weapon they want to play with.
I
in
know,
this trilogy,
right?
Whether it's their weapon or not. Because Han's like, can I use your crossbow? And Finn's like, I'm just going to wave around this lightsaber, see what happens.
Just like see how it goes.
It's so random.
And then that one stormtrooper that calls him...
It's like they're writing it as they make it.
Yeah, what's he call him? Traitor scum? And he throws away his blasters in favor of a spinny sparkly.
He just, like the way that Adam Driver's line read, traitor. It's like, I would never think of doing that, yet it's perfect. Yeah, I have the same note about the cave. Like that they're calling back the cave in Empire in this scene. But I also think that like they did the cave bit too early. Because Johnson's going to do that in the next movie, and I think like again it suggests that Abrams and Johnson never spoke about what they were going to do in either film.
Right.
Because it feels like they're stepping on each other's toes all the time.
That's true.
Oh, this is where we find out Poe survived.
Yeah, we find out that Poe survived. We also have that force freeze. Like, you could just freeze somebody's body now.
Yeah.
And this is the one I don't like.
Oh, really? Out of all of them, this one makes most sense, doesn't it? That you can control another person. It's when they start.
Yeah, but the other person has
giant ships and.
The other person has
teleport.
Power with the Force as well, and so I think they should be able to resist it. There's something about it that I just don't like. It's like whoever freezes somebody first could win the battle.
Yeah, it's like.
I like the idea of it in the middle of some sword fights that they do.
It's like LARPing. You know, when you can just hold up a card and freeze someone.
Yeah.
Fighting them. That's what it is. It's LARPing.
I kind of like it later when they're freezing certain slashing sword moves in saber fights. That's okay by me. Like just enough to get out of the way. I don't think it's the sort of thing that you should be able to hold it as long as he holds that ray gun blast.
I completely agree. And yeah, it's definitely a slippery slope, and it's hard to like. I guess you're right. We need to forget that it gets much worse, because that's what I'm immediately, as soon as you said that, I'm like, yes, that is not, doesn't seem like something you could do with the Force, but remember, it's going to the Forces end up going to be teleportation.
Yeah, right.
But that's not this movie's fault.
No,
so we have to see this movie's flaws within the context of this movie.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard because it goes off the rails. Even what you've described, there are worse examples of. So Poe comes back and he prevents anyone else getting a character arc for the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah, right.
And then Solo and Son, we get a flash of I really like the flash of emotion that goes over Harrison Ford's face when he sees Kylo. Tells you all you need to know about the relationship. Mm-hmm. And I would have loved to have seen Adam Driver's face in that moment too. But, you know. Has he taken the mask off at this point? No.
No. He has the mask on.
Okay. Oh, I should have taken the mask off way earlier.
Agreed.
And this is the Han and Leia reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure why they're kept apart in World before this, but
they say something akin to, we had to deal with it in our own ways. His ways was to become a smuggler again. Apparently.
Well, her response was just to do her job.
Yeah. Like a
Sounds like Leia.
yeah.
Like she's really the only sensible person in this entire
Right.
franchise. She's the only one who like reacts proportionally to anything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given what family she's a part of.
Agreed.
Compared to the other Skywalkers, she really is the sober one. And this was one of my highlights of the movie. Is I thought when they interrupted the reunion with an insert shot of C-3PO appearing on screen. This really got a laugh out of me in the theater, and I continue to love it.
It keeps making me laugh because I also, when you hear Anthony Daniels talk about him within this universe, he seems to think he's the most important thing that's part of the universe. And so you can almost imagine that it's not just the character but the actor as well, and that doubly makes me laugh the way he comes in. I like it a lot. And also,
I got to give credit to the Harrison Ford's deadpan upon seeing him. Makes it too. Yeah. Because they reverse shot to Han Solo's face, and it's just there's no emotion there. There's like he hasn't thought about this guy
for
since
1
the last
second.
time they met. And I love that. I really love it's one of the few moments that it's sort of that any of this sort of like comedy of awkwardness works in this whole trilogy, because the two of them are trying to have this, this reunion moment.
Sure.
And he's literally getting in the way, and he keeps looking back and forth, and he's going, "Oh, excuse me," and he just kind of backs out like a forklift truck. And I was like, how did they get this character right and fuck up everyone else's?
I know.
But then, of course, J.J. Abrams is like, it's not enough for this to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's add a mystery box. He's got a red arm. What's that about?
All of a sudden that red arm disappears. Why does that red arm go away?
Do you want to know the real reason?
Yeah, sure.
I sound like a clickbait article. The real reason will shock you. But there's a comic. There's a comic that's a prequel to this that explains how he got the red arm. That's it.
A comic what? A comic book?
Yeah. They did a Marvel's Star Wars comic to explain how he got the red arm. So they put it in the movie so they could cross-promote with that.
I thought you were going to tell me how he got rid of the red arm.
I'm sure that's explained in a comic somewhere too.
All right, fine.
Isn't that bullshit?
I like 3PO saying you probably didn't recognize me.
But I would just take the red arm out of it. Like you probably didn't recognize me because I've had a bath since then or something. Like I had a steam bath or something.
Doesn't he look a little different though?
He's very glossy.
He's really glossy, and it looks like a more comfortable suit is what it really looks like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's kind of, I like that he's sort of dottery and a little bit demented. Like, it sort of feels like they haven't developed the human characters with age, but I feel like the old droids feel like older versions of the characters, which it's like, if you can do that with robots, can't you do that with humans? and again, the sort of problem is like, I guess it has to be because of the story, but I want the moment between them to breathe, and it does.
Who, Han and Leia?
For a moment. Yeah, and it goes for a moment, and then they start talking about their son, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess this is the most important topic of conversation for both of them, but I just wish we didn't. I wish we could just have Han and Leia be Han and Leia and talk about them being together.
Right.
For a moment. Before we started talking about the Kylo Ren problem.
Yeah, but parents are parents.
Yeah, I mean, it reflects how they make it all about their kids, but that's not what they're writing. They're just like, Okay, enough of this beautiful moment. Let's continue with the plot.
When you're a single person and you go to all your friends' houses who have kids, that's all they talk about. Kids.
It's like it's almost like the people making this movie seem to be aware that them being on screen together is a big, like, for the first time in decades, is a big deal, but they also seem insecure about letting that scene breathe in the way it should for it to be affecting.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, by the way, what are we going to do
I thought it got there. My note was I thought they were doing some good work.
Yeah, I think it's really nice when they see each other and look at each other for a while, and the whole C-3PO interruption. I just begrudge them having to talk about the plot of this movie.
Yeah.
It seems like a waste of both of the times. And Poe and Finn just fuck already.
What's that?
Poe and Finn just fuck already.
Yeah, awkward hug. It's like they don't know how to hug.
Poe and Finn?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do kind of a John Candy, Steve Martin, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
I was surprised they wouldn't end up talking about space football or something.
Right.
You see the latest rollerball game?
You see that pod race?
You see that game that's kind of like football, but it's played by droids?
Well, meanwhile, I don't know why Kylo Ren is putting his helmet into an ash pile, but he is. And then he's going to be told by Snoke that he's never going to be as strong as Darth Vader, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And he has his second temper tantrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's the moment with the two stormtroopers. They see what's going on. They see the sparks flying, and
they just turn around.
They back out.
But again, it's a second temper tantrum that's just for the service of a joke.
Yeah.
And the joke's not that funny.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
Where were we?
My next note is Harriet Walter.
What the fuck is that?
Harriet Walter, the actor from famous British character actor, probably best known internationally for playing a character in Killing Eve. She's the vet. She's the vet that treats Chewie.
Okay, yeah, that's what. Okay.
So again, they do the Star Wars thing of casting someone extremely respected in the industry to play a bit part.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And she knows Chewie's a good boy. So that's all I care about.
Yeah, she's great.
And then BB-8 bumps into his legacy droid.
Mm-hmm. Who's sleeping?
Which R2-D2 is introduced to us as a sad bucket. Look at that sad. You know that everyone in the Resistance has accidentally mistaken him for a trash can, probably several times.
He's got a few gum wrappers, I'm sure, in the top portion where somebody just lifted up one of those blue panels and dropped some
It
shit in
reminds me,
there.
there's a great Mitchell and Webb sketch. We previously talked about them with the Nazi soldiers asking, "Are we the bad guys?" That's another one of their sketches. It's a company owner calls a meeting to give feedback about employees using a Stargate as a trash can. The star, you can't just put what you want in the Stargate. It's going somewhere. I know you forget about it, but in another dimension, they're getting banana skins. They're getting magazines, and I feel like people have, definitely tried to use it as an ashtray or a trash can. And this is the definition of doing a character dirty, isn't it? With what they do with R2.
With R2?
Yeah. He's asleep.
Yeah.
He's a sad bucket. And with even what they say about him, I think really depreciates the character. Like, they say, as soon as Luke left, he shut down. I'm like R2 is this Uncle Tom.
Like he didn't have a reason to live.
It's it's like, well, once Massa's gone, ain't nothing R2 can do. I'll just go to my shack and die.
I always kind of thought of it as, it's the Ghostbusters problem. We've talked about this before, where you're trying to fit the new cast and the old cast into one frame of the movie.
So one of them has to be asleep.
And we need R2 to be asleep. I cannot put R2 in this movie. J.J. Abrams is like, I don't know how to do that.
But he also doesn't know how to reintroduce a character that's not sad.
Mm-hmm.
They're all sad.
Well, not 3PO.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, they get 3PO right in spite of everything else. But he's the exception that proves the rule, because everyone else is just sad. They just have continual sadness in their lives. I guess since the fireworks at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Would you not have Kylo Ren? Would you not have that character? Would you not have their son be the baddie?
I wouldn't have him be a straightforward baddie. I would have him be a guy who is... I'd have Kylo Ren before he turned to the dark side. I would have Kylo Ren as like, which way is this dude gonna go?
Yeah.
He's got influences from the dark side. He's got influences from the light. He could, if he sides with one, the other side's in trouble.
Yeah.
And make it a thing.
Okay.
I say I would. I did. In my treatment.
I'm going to start calling this the famous treatment.
This is all in the treatment, by the way.
Yeah, this is part of the famous treatment.
So this is where... So Han and Leia have a conversation. There's a lot of interim storytelling here. Basically, everything that we'll ever find out about how Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, aside from the Rashomon stuff in the next movie, which is never resolved as to what actually happened, is going to come out here. And there's no reason for them to tell each other about any of this, since they both lived through it.
Right.
But also, they also seem to forget that Luke is Ren's uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rhea says, Luke is a Jedi, you're his father. It's like, but you could counter... Luke is his uncle, so they're related, so he might listen to some things he has to say. Like, it's not an insignificant relationship in the way that they're making out. That's like, he's just his master. He's also his blood relative and uncle. Which is a close family relationship.
But he's also a Jedi. I think what she's saying is, you're not a Jedi, but you're still... Like, what you are is even more important than that. I think she's just speaking directly to Han.
Okay.
You're his father. That matters.
But it would make more sense if Luke wasn't his uncle.
Fine.
Give Ren a trainer who wasn't Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it was an Obi-Wan situation again, where he was trained by someone who was too green to be a Jedi Master. Well, arguably that's Luke as well, but
Right. I was like,
as it turns out,
what are you talking about?
But let's just accept that Luke has got to the stage of his career where he can train Jedis.
Yeah.
You could have introduced another guy who's like, I fucked up. Like, I thought I could train him, but I wasn't ready.
Was I saying on the way out, because there's this moment where Kylo Ren's still talking to Snoke, and he's talking about she's testing her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep thinking, I don't know how the Force works at all. I don't. It goes,
you do. No, you do.
Yeah,
But everything you're seeing is contradicting what you know about the Force. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's really interesting because it takes until Rise of Skywalker until they admit in-world, on-screen, that if ever they can't explain anything, it's the Force. And that's saying the quiet part loud.
Yeah.
Right. But it's through all of these movies that it's like, you know, what's the reason that everything that doesn't make sense happens, the Force. And it's only in Rise of Skywalker that they find, like, look, let me, I'm gonna level with you. Force.
Now, is this the part where we get the explanation
For
what we're gonna attack, why we're attacking it, where we're gonna attack it? Because there's this speech from Poe that is so funny to me because it encapsulates what an entire first movie was, which was we have to get the plans, and then we just have the plans of this new weapon.
I know. It's a real problem, yeah.
And
there's no
explanation to how they got them whatsoever.
How they got the plans. Yeah.
And they do that repeatedly throughout these three movies. Constantly.
I was gonna say, how did I think I realized it when I was watching Rise of Skywalker. How did they know about that navigation tower?
Exactly.
But it's the same here. How did they get the plans to Starkiller Base?
Yeah.
If Finn is the only source of information they have that this even exists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I have mixed feelings about calling it another Death Star, because at least it's honest about it's like the leveling with the audience about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But it does sort of mean, like, usually when you have these conferences in Star Wars, it's about exposition. Like, this is the vehicle by which we tell you the story. What are the stakes of the story? Setting everything up. But this is just a rebranding conversation. This is like a bunch of marketing executives going,
it's so funny.
So we're not going to call this Death Star. Let's think of another name for it. That's what it feels like. We can't call it a tax hike. How do we rebrand it?
But what I like about it is that there's so much inclusion towards what these movies always do in terms of going back to the well that they've already been to before. And they do that sequel thing. Somebody says, okay, so it's another Death Star. Oh, I wish it was that simple. And then they show how big it is.
Yeah.
And it's just
and then
that
they do
sequel
the same with
thing.
the hold-on maneuver.
Yeah, just that sequel. Yeah, exactly. They sequel it up by making it bigger. And then the writing...
They're like, this is the Death Star.
Yeah,
this is Starkiller
they show
Base.
it.
Like,
they show it.
It's bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the point that you're making? It's bigger. Yes, I
it's
get
bigger, so it's more dangerous. This is a sequel, so it's bigger.
It's one louder.
It's one louder. No, this one goes to 11.
Yeah, no, it's loud. No, it was one.
But what I
louder.
like is that story-wise, Han Solo just has to say, "Okay, so it's bigger. We'll just blow it up." There's always a way to blow it up. I mean, he says exactly what you shouldn't say out loud.
Says the quiet part loud. Yeah,
we're gonna do what we've always done, which is blow that fucker up.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's great.
We skipped over Rey Jedi mind tricking Daniel Craig. I don't know if there's anything you want to say about that.
Oh yeah, I forgot she's still kidnapped. Right.
Mm.
I actually see. This is one of the moments where I really liked her, because you get 3 line readings of the same line, but you get that the power of the Force is flowing through her.
Yeah, you can't stop to think about how she knows to do this.
Right.
If she
Yeah.
doesn't think Luke Skywalker is real.
Right.
If she thinks the Jedi are a myth, how would she know?
But this,
what the Jedi
all
are?
that does is go back to what I was saying earlier about the way the Force works in these movies is always dramatically different. And there's nothing in this movie that tells us specifically and directly that she is more connected, has more power than anybody we've ever seen before, blah, 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 blah.
They do in the next movie. They create a mystery over why her Force power is so strong.
I don't even remember that.
Luke says, "You went straight to the dark. I've never seen anyone do that before."
No. I thought that was more about the story arc of that they're trying to keep throughout these 3 movies, that she will go to the dark side. Will she not go to the dark side?
That's true. It's that as well. But I think it's also like there's something about Mary Sue. That's what it is. It's sort of like something weird about this kid. It's like, even for the Force, this is weird. Anyway, but not here. Here it's just like, I don't know. She read a Jedi comic, and there was a mind trick in there, and she's gonna try it out. Or she got like a magic.
Well, the only explanation I can come up with is that
she's sent off for a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah,
kit.
she has so much power within the Force that she can just sense what to do. But this movie doesn't take the time to explain that to us, that's what she's doing.
True.
So it all just kind of feels like a cheat, but
also like and then I'm skipping back to I'm light speed skipping to the the conference, the
go ahead.
Starkiller base conference, because like it's noticeably more interactive. Like original Star Wars, it's just a bearded guy with a PowerPoint. And now it's like everyone gets to chime in whenever they want. There's no hierarchy. It's just like anyone can just say anything they want at any time. Like there's the PowerPoint's a hologram that seemingly anyone can control. Like they've released a button on, they've made everyone a host.
Yeah.
So they can do what they want. I just thought it was kind of interesting that it's just all these under 5s saying one line, and they don't have it. Back in the original Star Wars, it was just call and response. It was like, here's the, it was like open university lecturer. Oh look, there's the Death Star, and this is the inside of the Death Star, and then occasionally someone would go, we're gonna die. And the guy would just carry on.
No, he's like, we're not gonna die. You'll use proton torpedoes.
But he does. But it's not like he just like someone says, "Hey, we're gonna die with that," and Luke goes, "Nah, we might die, but you know, I used to blow up a small rodent." And so, what the fuck did you say that for? But the guy's just going, and here's the Death Star, and here's how we do it. End of presentation. But this is all kind of like TED Talky, like audience interaction, and there's no presenter. We're all presenting. It's a workshop. We're just workshopping this, guys.
Yes, right.
And all the like the resistance. We haven't talked about this, but the rebellion is now the resistance. But it's the rebellion, even to the point where occasionally they forget to call it the resistance and call it the rebellion. Right. Even people in the resistance accidentally call it the rebellion sometimes. And then all the pilots are still around, and again, they're all from species that don't age. Yeah. Or don't age visibly.
Right. We're gonna get
Akbar,
Lando's co-captain, whose name I don't remember.
Nime Num.
And we're gonna see Wedge again by the 3rd movie.
We're gonna see Wedge in his bedroom.
It's fucking. He must have gotten a walker to get into that. Like, some sort of walker
A scene that
apparatus
he
to get
definitely
into that thing.
filmed in his bedroom and then sent in digitally. Yeah. And a question, I again, it's a pointless asking this question because it's all going to change in 5 minutes anyway. Why can't Han and Leia be together?
You mean for the battle or just in their relationship?
Both. Why couldn't they be together at the beginning of this movie and just going through a rough patch?
Right.
And also, why couldn't they use this opportunity to get back together?
Agreed.
Like, both of those are preferable to the sense of, like, we've split up forever.
Yeah, I was going to say that they can't get back together because a saber goes through his chest.
Exactly. This is the... But there's no sense that they're going to get back together when he gets back.
No, yeah, right.
And again, is it just like we've got to keep these characters in perpetual sadness?
But what there is that they still love each other. And so that's weird.
Yeah, exactly. That's like it's like, you know, it's sort of like, why couldn't
they
it
should be
that,
together but aren't.
She was just like, you went on that smuggling run and it lasted 6 months. What the hell? I haven't seen you in that time. It's like, oh, yeah, well, you're busy too. You're running the resistance.
Yeah.
But that's not the conversation they have. They look like they haven't seen each other in a good 10 years.
Yeah. Agreed.
Which is entirely an invention of the movie for a reason I don't understand. Even Marion and Indy have just split up in Indiana Jones. And I didn't like that, but at least they've just split up. Over the sun as well. It's the same storyline.
It is, yeah.
That.
Because of the
exactly
sun.
The same storyline. They lost their son. And then that Mutt will come back as a villain.
I don't know. It's interesting, right? Because
he'll be in charge of the Vietnamese army.
The idea, the ideas behind this movie are this couple had to separate because neither one of them knew how to handle what happened to their son together, and
which happens in the real world.
Which happens in the real world.
Yeah.
And so all of this seems like a good idea, right? On paper, at least it seems honest. It seems something real that could happen.
It seems honest. I agree. Yeah, you're right.
And yet, for some reason, it doesn't really work, does it?
Because they don't.
But that's part of the facade of this movie. This movie feels like a better movie than it is.
Yeah.
It's
like, not. That's the thing. Like when this becomes like a trope of franchise fiction, where every time a character comes back, they're in a really bad way.
Yeah. Right.
You begin to get tired. You tire it really easily, and you're just like, this isn't satisfying to watch. I don't want to see my characters at their lowest, my favorite characters at their lowest, when there's no advantage to playing it that way dramatically, other than, well, this is what we do now.
Well, you want there to be stakes, though, and I think people think of that as stakes.
Yeah, it's false stakes, though, because again, it's like, why do we need to find them at the bottom of the well each time we're reintroduced to them?
But I love your idea about seeing Ben and not Kylo Ren and seeing him. But you could argue that we went through that storyline in the prequels, so why are we rehashing that?
Yeah, but we knew which way he was going to fall. We wouldn't know this time.
That's true.
That's the advantage of doing a sequel instead of a prequel.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, like, they don't have any timeline to meet. Like, they've got no deadlines like the prequel had.
Right.
And yet they choose to kind of relitigate the same stories. Ideas. And they didn't need, like, they could have, I'm not saying you should have done a George Lucas midichlorian story, but you can really do everything you want, and you could have done anything you wanted. You could have still reset the table in the way that you did in Force Awakens, and then go on to turn it into something that is Star Wars, but also takes advantage of the fact that you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I guess that's what Johnson was trying to do. Like, he was like, why does it have to be this way? Why do we have to see it from this point of view? Isn't there another way of looking at this material?
Mm-hmm.
He just maybe did it too haphazardly.
Mm.
But we'll get there.
I have questions about gas. So...
You mean in terms of fuel or poison gas?
Fuel.
Well, fuel is the big
It's a major problem.
With that movie.
That is
It
the
is
entire movie.
Yeah.
Except for the last 40 minutes, which is a whole other movie.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to waste time talking about it here, but I have a theory as to why fuel is such a big part of that movie.
All right, fine. Meanwhile, this movie is starting to kind of speed up. Like you get a speech about blah 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 blah, followed by Han Solo just saying, "All right, well we'll go and we'll take care of some shit. Don't worry about it." Mm-hmm. Here's the Millennium Falcon coming out of hyperspace, nice and low through the forest of trees. We're busy, people. We got to get onto the base.
They're doing what they do with the Force, but with technology. So they've established all these fictional world rules about what technology does and doesn't do.
Yeah.
And in order to get to the next story point, they have to break those rules. And so we do it with the facade of Han Solo being, "Hey, I'm a maverick, I'm a rule breaker.
Yeah, right.
This has never been tried before. We've intimated that it's not physically possible in previous movies, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna take the chance." And that's not the kind of rule breaker he is, where he's kind of like trying to break the speed barrier or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
It's all just kind of like, it's all scoundrel kind of stuff. It's all sort of like streetwise piloting. But this isn't streetwise piloting. This is breaking the laws of physics as it's established in the world.
In the world, right.
Yeah. And again, they do that minimally 2-3 times in each movie.
Yeah.
Well,
he does it twice in this movie by hyperspacing out of his freighter and then hyperspacing into a planet.
Yeah, that's the one that we're at now, and it's kind of just like, well, we didn't know we could do that, but apparently we can.
Right.
And they end up on the snow planet. I'll give it to this movie. They've mixed up the terrains.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're still in that problem of each planet has one climate.
Right.
But we're never going to get over that, so at least...
So, right. Move on.
Snow, forest, desert...
Ocean.
Have we had tropical? In this movie. Have we had ocean in this movie?
No, not as much this movie, but...
That's pretty good. That's a good mix of terrains, I think, for a Star Wars movie. I like that they went to snow here.
Yeah, I do too. Because it's a different snow. It actually... You have to remind yourself that you'd seen snow before, because Hoth feels more just like an ice planet. It feels colder. This feels regular, happy snow.
And ironically, this is like... Hoth was just... what was it? Finland? Where were they? They were in Scandinavia.
Yeah, where were they? Netherlands? No, they were...
Something... Netherlands. I don't think Netherlands gets that cold, no.
No? Okay.
No, I don't think so. It's got to be somewhere in Scandinavia, I think. Anyway, somewhere like that's Arctic adjacent. But that was just like... That was a real place. This is probably not a real place, and yet I agree with you. It's like Hoth feels more like an alien planet than this place.
Yeah,
but it's actually less of an alien planet than this, and how it's constructed.
Right.
And then there's this whole thing with jackets again. Like helmets and jackets are a big thing in this movie.
Yeah, taking jackets off, finding jackets later, taking them off again.
Yeah. Because they make a big thing of Han Solo wearing his big snow jacket.
Yeah.
And then is it Chewie that hands it to him?
He sees it just on the floor and gives it to him when they're about to leave.
That's great. I love that.
And then they decide to blow shit up and he takes it off again.
Yeah. Because I think they observe the relationship between Han and Chewie really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this sort of sets the scene for Solo as well. It's like the love between them and the sort of the kind of marital dimension of the relationship. It's like looking out for each other and you know, that kind of thing. I think it's really well observed. Yeah, at the same time, Wookiee violence is still a thing. Like you still feel the threat, but he's domesticated too.
I like the idea because it kind of plays on the idea that we spoke to earlier about these people coming to save the damsel in distress who has freed herself and is climbing around on shit.
And now we can't find her.
Yeah, just escaping things on her own. I like that idea.
It's building on Leia grabbing the gun and rescuing herself.
Right.
Because these bozos have
are
fucked
too
it up.
Stupid.
And then again, like Han Solo appears to remember minor details of adventures that happened decades ago, like it was yesterday. Because as soon as they're looking for a way to get rid of Gwendolyn Christie, the Silver Surfer trooper, he's like, trash compactor.
Yeah.
It's like, really, has nothing happened since then in your life? I know it was a big day for you, but you know, you got married and had a kid. Is that not like forefront in your memory?
I'm okay with that joke though, because it makes sense for where they are and what's going on. I believe he would think of that in this moment.
Okay.
As opposed to his wedding day. Oops.
Yeah. As
opposed to his wedding day.
No, banger gong when you say that. I think it accentuates your point.
Just let me edit the way I want to, sir.
Don't comment on the things that I'm definitely going to cut. There's a shot that tells me this director grew up watching VHS in the 80s, because he does like a pan and scan when there's like a pan and scan from the X-wing pilots over to First Order headquarters, and he does it. It's like you know, nobody uses pan and scan because it was a means to an end, right? It was looked down upon. It was something that they did just so they could fit a movie onto a VHS,
right?
Like, you know, moving the video monitor so it catches different parts of the screen at different times depending on where the action is. But J.J. Abrams kind of does it here in this shot, where he's sort of like, he just kind of moves the shot to different parts of the frame back and forth like a pan and scan.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, that's a guy who grew up watching VHS. It's kind of burned into his director brain to do that. And when they arrive on the snow planet and they're stood in front of the, I guess you call it Starkiller Base, Starkiller Base. That's the only shot in these movies that I thought didn't work digitally.
Yeah,
it looks like they're photoshopped in it, and they're looking at a digital backdrop. Like, this is and it's kind of funny because they've since then solved that problem, because now they've got the volume,
right,
which is to address this exact weakness of how, you know, we want to film everyone inside a dome room, without making it look like they're inside.
Yeah.
So we've invented this piece of technology, but this shot told me that there was a real need for that, because it doesn't look like they're there.
Yeah, I agree.
But that was it. Like, that was the only
otherwise
effect I noticed in all three
agree.
movies. Well, we see the last ever interaction between Han and Chewie.
Yeah.
We don't know that that's what it is at the time.
Right.
And to be fair, the movie doesn't tip us off that it's their final moment together. Like, if there was a music sting or they said something other than "give me that charge" to one another, you'd know something was up. So I guess it's good misdirection.
Yeah, sure.
And at this point, I'm like, actually, at this point, I think when I first saw it, I thought, oh, they're gonna kill Chewie.
Oh, I didn't. I was all hooked in.
Them.
When they separated them, I was... Especially, I guess there's one moment where he sees Kylo walking, and I thought, oh, fuck. I know what's going to happen.
This is a very Indiana Jones bridge. It's like the leap of faith and the rickety drawbridge in Temple of Doom.
Right. It's put into one.
It's just a place where Harrison Ford looks right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, I don't know, I thought his death was a genuine surprise if you knew nothing about behind the scenes about how much Harrison Ford wanted to get out of
be in
this
this,
role.
yeah.
Because, and part of that is because it's the wrong place in this trilogy to do it, narratively, I think.
Mm.
But
you mentioned that earlier, so you would have done it in the next film.
Yeah, it's like, he doesn't want to do it, and it's like he doesn't want to do another movie. Okay, so let's make this our big twist, our big misdirect.
Yeah.
We're gonna build him up. We're gonna reintroduce his character, focus, dwell on him throughout the movie, and then kill him off. But and I guess on the other hand as well, it's like, I think having gone through with this, where it looks like Kylo Ren is gonna have his redemption, and then to invert that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what that means for the rest of the films is that he can never go back.
Mm.
Like, story-wise, I think the fact that this is just a deferred redemption devalues it.
Right.
If you're eventually going to redeem him, why not just do it now?
But in that, I mean, I know this is going into the third movie, but that was my big surprise in that movie the first time I saw it. I never thought I was going to see Harrison Ford again.
Well, that wasn't the original plan.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we don't have enough actors alive to play legacy characters in this movie. You gotta come back.
So I was shocked to see him.
We'll pay you millions. They paid him a ridiculous
And I kind of like the juxtaposition. I like the connected kind of tissue of this talk and that talk and his turn. It's enough for me.
Okay. But that's not the reason he turns. He's born again. He dies, and anyway, we'll get there.
I know. Yeah.
It's not the reason he. It's got nothing to do with not Force Ghost Han Solo.
Yeah, but it sets him on a path.
What which one?
The talking with Han and Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, all right.
He makes a choice.
That's the thing. It's like the formula dictates we've got to have a sacrificial lamb at the end of the first of these movies. Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon. It just should have been Luke, I think, here. But they probably thought people will think that's what's going to happen, so let's make it Han, since Harrison Ford doesn't want to be a part
since he wants to be dead.
Yeah. And that must have been a big part of convincing him to come back, telling him, you're one and done.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And it's, let's just be honest, it's the only way they got him. We're going to kill you off.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. He's not going to sign on for 3 again. He didn't sign on for 3 the first time.
Right.
He had to be coaxed back by threatening to kill off his character.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally did it. They were like, well, there's no way back now. Except the only problem is that back in 2015, being impaled with a lightsaber meant certain death. Now, 'tis but a flesh wound in the Star Wars galaxy. People have come back from that with minimal surgery.
Right.
Like, non-invasive surgery corrects that now.
Yeah,
in the Star Wars canon.
Just a little force press can help you out wonders.
Well, yeah, and there's that, and you can do it without the Force as well. Like in I think it's the not the Acolyte, Ahsoka.
Ahsoka does that, yeah.
One of the characters gets rammed through it, and the next they've got like a little band-aid on it on the hole, and it's all good. So, and there's Christian imagery here as well. The sort of the crucifix-looking lightsaber and the father-son, the inversion of the father taking on the sins of the son.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing in that religious sandbox, which Star Wars does as well. So that's fine.
It takes Chewie
And then-
an awful long time to roar and start shooting. They really milk that moment for quite some
What?
time.
You see, anytime they make a mistake like that, and it's to do with Chewie, I always headcanon it as old age. So I'm like, well, his eyesight's probably not great
Wait a second.
now.
Somebody's falling. Who
Yeah.
fell?
Which one of them fell? Oh,
Fuck! Ah.
because at the end of this movie, when if we ever get there, at the end of this movie, when Rey goes and climbs up the hill, my headcanon is obviously R2 can't get up there because his boot, he can't fly anymore, and
Yeah, right.
he can't climb up, but Chewie's got arthritis, so his knees.
I'll stay here.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like Rey would stay down there and Chewie would go up because
Yeah.
Chewie's the only one that he
That
knows.
knows.
Yeah. So it's hi, you've never met me before, but two of your favorite people are at the bottom of the hill. And then it's like, so when they get into the forest, it's kind of like an apprentice version of Star Wars, because it's like two young minorities compete for the chance to be the movie's Jedi.
Yeah. But it really kind of shows
Everyone wants to hold that lightsaber.
Do you think, to me, it's like they don't know what they're doing quite yet,
No.
right?
And this, interestingly, I remember Sam Jackson saying the same thing when he saw the movie. Like, he was like, people really laid into the prequels, but when someone wielded a lightsaber in those movies, they were trained to use it. You've got these two amateurs just waving lightsabers about.
Yeah.
Who don't know what they're doing. And I think he was sort of angry that they just let anyone hold and wield a lightsaber. It's like, we worked for months on choreographing lightsaber fights to make them look like we knew what we were doing.
Right.
And this is just kids playing around with toys. So I totally get that. But yeah, I don't...
To
I
the
think
movie's
they're
credit, neither one of them look... they're not great saber fighters yet, and that shows in both of these fights. Finn is dispatched quickly, and for the most part, Rey looks overmatched.
Yeah. Also, it's never been part of the mythology that a lightsaber calls to you.
Right.
A lightsaber doesn't have a little man inside.
No.
As far as I know.
To the best of my knowledge.
They capitalized. They deleted that scene from the beginning of Return of the Jedi where you see Luke put in a crystal and it turns into a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Which is what Vader means by constructing your own lightsaber, which is probably why they cut it, because it doesn't look like skilled labor. You go, whoop! Don't have to be a Jedi to figure that out. But here it's a strange. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think they know what they're doing.
Right.
I think it's a choose your own. It's like a choose your own adventure that is yet unwritten.
Mm-hmm.
Skip to page 40 if you want Finn to pick up the lightsaber. Skip to page 109 if you want Rey to pick up the lightsaber.
Yeah. But then, I like, in a movie that's always walking things back, I even have to walk back what I just said, because for the most part, she looks overmatched, and then all of a sudden, although I like the acting moment where it feels like the Force is really kind of coming into her, but then she really fucks Kylo Ren up a little bit there at the end.
This is one of Snoke's big notes for the Snoke's notes in the next movie.
Like, how the hell did that happen?
It's interesting as well because we cut back and forth between the new trench run.
Yeah.
Because Starkiller Base needs.
My note was, we have a trench run of sorts.
Of sorts, exactly. And they kind of split the character of Luke 3 ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit like this. So Luke's a little bit Poe, a little bit Rey, a little bit Finn. And it reminded me of the Eddie Izzard joke about like him going out as a trans person and the kind of, the sort of bullying from people on the street that he'd get, and it's like they come at you in groups of 5, each with a fifth of a personality each. This is how I feel about these characters. There's 3 of them, and they have a third of a personality each.
That's the problem, though, is that Poe is supposed to be the Han surrogate, but he's the Resistance fighter pilot, which is Luke. Mm-hmm. And so they're cutting off portions of each of the original characters to give to these new characters.
Death Star 3 combines the tactics of Death Star 1 and Death Star 2 because they're doing the trench run and they've sent someone down to the surface to shut down the shields.
Yeah, right.
So that's 1 and 2 at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in world they've learned how to do this. Like, it's well within their wheelhouse to take down a Death Star.
Right.
It's what any kind of whether you call it rebellion or resistance, any kind of subcultural faction knows how to take out a Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
Which is even more reason why the villains should
stop making these big expensive fucking things.
Don't put all your chips on a Death Star. That's all I'm saying.
How many billions of credits did you use to build that thing?
I'd love it if, because we get the Resistance people going like, oh, this is just like the Death Star, both of them. Whereas there should be people in the First Order like you served with the Empire going, can't believe this is happening again. How did we make exactly the same mistake all 3 times in a row, guys?
You just put a little black lock on top of the thing that they should be getting into. Are we sure we can't?
Maybe they
can't get into that.
Maybe it's a labor problem. Like, everyone who would have been able to tell the next generation to learn from their mistakes got blown up in the Death Star. And so they're not around. So each new generation goes into it wide-eyed, not knowing that they're doomed to failure before it even begins. What do you think about this blood tapping that Kylo Ren does? He's got like a wound on his leg. And he kind of taps the blood out.
He smacks it.
And it's like, is that force healing?
No. I think that's him gearing himself up.
Okay.
And I think it's kind of Marine-ish.
I bet it's been retconned as force healing by now. But...
So I like it.
Because I was like, I always forget that this happens because it isn't related to his force abilities in world.
Right.
And it feels like Adam Driver, something the Adam Driver the Marine once did when he had an injury.
He has a few things that he does in that vein. The way he kind of, if he's holding his sword forward and he kind of flips it in his hand to face backwards, that maneuver that he does. And then that hitting his wound thing. Yeah. Like he brings flares to...
I think so.
That seem Marine related that I like. Yeah.
It's kind of like it's John Rambo shit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like he can imagine himself like doing it, sewing up his stitches. Well, like you did that time.
I did indeed.
What did you use to? I forget. What did you use to hold your skin together again?
Needle and thread.
Oh, just needle and thread. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you close the wound?
With needle and thread.
Wow.
I mean, I had somebody helping me, pinching the skin together.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Skin's thick, man. Wasn't easy.
That's what I learned. That's what you learned.
Yeah.
My own... In performing surgery on myself, I learned a few things about what skin is.
All right. We're going to take a break. We may or may not be back right after this. If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to...
Stay on target.
And check out the Sounds and Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
Stay on target.
find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably be described as Doug, the dog from Up, and another man with a soothing and sultry voice trying to get that man to
Stay on target.
That's the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Tune in and listen to the sounds they are creating just for you. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that she, we have earthquake splits that separate her and Kylo Ren. Poe is blowing shit up, so the planet implodes.
Mm-hmm.
And
So they've combined the tragedy of Alderaan with the explosion of the Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
Because presumably there are other people on this planet who got caught in the crossfire.
I always wonder about that too. Like, was this an inhabited planet that they just took over?
Yeah.
Who else is living on this planet? Because it seems like it's First Order only.
First order only.
You don't see anybody else.
The No Homers Club. We can have one Homer. So everyone's kind of like they sort of toy with the idea they might kill Finn after having toyed with the idea of killing off Poe. Now they're toying with the idea that Finn might be done for as well, and then he must have tested well because there's the ADR in the line. Oh, we have a heartbeat.
Yeah, right. And R2 wakes up.
R2 wakes up from his nap, and the droids can immediately resume their abusive relationship.
Right.
R2 is a lot more sweary in these movies than he was previously. I don't know if this is sort of product of it. He's this cantankerous old man now, but every time anyone speaks to him, they're like, "Don't you use that language with me."
He's mouthy and
I don't remember him cursing as much.
he curses in the first couple movies, I think.
And R2, and then he sort of R2 is the other piece of the treasure map. So the two droids come together to form one map.
Yes.
And
he's such a small portion of it. The BB-8 portion.
And it's a metaphor for how the Legacy series is working in conjunction with the new trilogy, isn't it? It's sort of like, taken together, these are both of our contributions. Most of it is the Legacy, right?
Right.
But J.J. Abrams has introduced this small square of originality in there that fits neatly to the point where it looks like original trilogy Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very meta moment in the movie, I thought.
Right.
When they joined the map and it became one. That's what J.J. Abrams thinks he's done.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what he's telling the audience they've done, and the audience, including me, in 2015, bought it at the time. Totally. Wholesale. Bought into it.
I noticed something because Rey goes to the planet of Ireland.
Well, so I'm really glad, a good choice they made. Finn doesn't wake up because Rey kissed him. I really thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they restrained themselves there.
Agreed.
They just leave him in the sort of Ford contract renewal cliffhanger limbo.
Right.
But why is Rey... Okay, so why is Rey going on this mission?
Because she's a Jedi. Or
what? No, she's not a Jedi.
A potential Jedi.
She's not Jedi. Huh?
So I think Leia's like, you're the one that has to go.
Why is Leia not going? It's her brother.
I agree, but...
I get Chewie, I get R2. Why is Rey there? Apart from, I mean, I know what. No, I
mean, we know why. Yeah,
it's because you got to have a representative of the new trilogy there.
Yeah, exactly.
But there could be lip service to why Leia is not going, even if it's just.
It's one of those things that
my job is here. My job is here now, or
Yeah.
we had a fight. He's not going to want to see me, or something. Anything.
It's one of those things that seems to make perfect sense that makes no sense at all.
They could have even gone to "He tried to murder my son."
Right.
We're not on great terms.
I'm not the biggest fan. But
And then we get the.
But one
the-
thing,
go
like,
on,
one thing I notice about this set of movies is I know they have, like, the hyperspace. I know, I know they could go to the hyperdrive, but everything seems
Yeah.
so close to each other.
Right.
And I always have the
Well,
sense,
especially for a place that's not on the map.
right? Exactly. I always have the sense,
It's like-
especially in that first trilogy, that things are far away from each other in space. You gotta travel a long time.
It's really interesting you say that, because that makes no literal sense that they're going to a place that they can get to that quickly, and yet it was beyond their map.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not, the opposite problem is what they do in Ahsoka, where it's like, we're going to another galaxy and, we need a space whale to take us there. But you gotta have something. You gotta have something that, I mean, even in The Rise of Skywalker, they have the red blood cells that look like inner space.
Yeah, right.
So there's a sense of like we're doing something transdimensionally.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just like, it's like it was right under their noses all along, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
Just no one bothered. It was like such a small planet, nobody bothered to draw it on the map, which is not what they're saying it is.
Right.
Which would have been a better, Attack of the Clones. They did a better job with the whole missing planet storyline. So we have that one-shot curtain call that they do in every movie, except it's not the last shot of the movie anymore. JJ and Johnson like to add their own epilogues, so we get the curtain call, and then the movie keeps going for a few more minutes in every one of these movies.
Yeah. This one's not as egregious to me.
Well, it's sort of like,
she's holding out the saber. You get Luke. But
again, why can't they do this reveal at the beginning of the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to? And I know it's because it's like J.J. Abrams is like, you got to sit through what I've done before you get to Luke. Luke is your reward.
Yeah.
Except he's literally not. Like if he'd had appeared 3/4 of the way through the movie, it would have been better.
Yeah.
But it's a real kick in the teeth for him to not say a word and appear in the last few seconds of the movie.
I agree.
And once we get to Planet Island, the martial arts imagery just takes over. Like it's the samurai basis of Star Wars is at full capacity here. The master atop the master atop the hill, the apprentice climbing the steps. And it ends on a literal cliffhanger. It's kind of leaning into the matinee serial aspect of the series, but it's also the other problem with this trilogy is they're like, okay, this is part 1 of 3, right? But actually these movies work better if you kind of have a self-contained story in the first part, and then the second and third are more serial based.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the better model, I think. Yeah, and that's the end of the movie.
Well, there you have it.
Who knows what he's gonna do with that lightsaber?
Yeah, you'll be surprised. I'll tell you that much.
The explanation will shock you.
All right, friend. Why don't you hit us with a credit check?
Let's do it.
I don't want to talk about anything except that bad robot.
Okay.
It's so
bad. I think we were.
But you go ahead.
Yeah. Based on characters created by George Lucas, at this point everybody gets to play in the Star Wars sandbox except George himself.
Yeah.
Neil Scanlon, special creature effects. Just want a shout out to his talents. Like
good work.
He keeps the practical dimension of effects alive, and did the idea of like digital proxy. So you look at something and you assume it's digital, and it's actually done all practically.
Yeah.
And there's so much of that in this movie. Like BB-8 is whatever you think is digital is practical, and vice versa.
Yeah. Agreed.
Whatever strides this film makes for gender reputation, remember, Mark Hamill is credited higher than Carrie Fisher.
Terrible.
Whatever's going on screen, behind the scenes, it's a man's world. All the newbies are credited after the legacy characters, which suggests certain agreements have been made for their return.
Yeah, maybe, right?
This is good. Kenny Baker, R2-D2 consultant Kenny Baker. But Kenny Baker is R2-D2. That's like saying Adolf Hitler is an Adolf Hitler consultant. No, he's just Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. It's like they came to him and said, so how would you move in the bucket? And he's like, let me tell you something. I'm going to be moving in the bucket, so don't worry about how I do it. You know what? We're going to give you a consultant.
I don't think, but he's not in there, I don't think. It's Jimmy V, right? He was basically dying. I think he was dying at this point, I think.
Okay.
So certainly the last movie that he was involved in. So many digital artists.
Yeah.
To the point where their credits take on a phone book quality. So there's one point where you can see the name Alexander Lee, followed immediately by Alexander K. Lee. It's like, I'm reading the phone book here. So many, there's two people with exactly the same name, despite with a different middle initial.
Good stuff.
Dennis Muir and Phil Tippett supervising the effects and animations, and I think that explains a lot about why this looks so good. SFX technician Barry White. Presumably, he applied to the job because he misread SFX as sex. Sound PA.
I'm here for the sex.
I'm here for the sex job. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sound PA Julia Roberts. I know there's less and less work for women in Hollywood as they get older, but this is ridiculous. She shouldn't be made to be a sound PA. Okay, this is the weirdest special thanks I've ever seen. Special thanks, George Osborne, British Chancellor of the Exchequer. And let me just give you some context. I don't know why he's
Please.
This was the Chancellor who imposed austerity on the British people, forcing about half of British society into poverty post the economic crisis of 2008. So unless he's being thanked because he's the basis for Snoke, I don't know why he's being credited.
And let me just say, thank you.
My God. This really made me sad. This special thanks. The patient and generous families of the cast and crew. I mean, that is a tacit admission that you mistreat your workers, right there.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Simon Pegg uncredited, which seems like a miss in terms of like his relative stardom. Like, why would you not have him credited in the movie unless it's a union contract problem? And this is, it's Pegg clearly taking sides because he's a famous prequel hater. And he's, as I said, JJ's bitch in a variety of franchises. And then we circle back to your note. A post-credit scene? No! Just the most intrusive logo in all of modern cinema. And it's just the first time I realized how much the Bad Robot logo steals from the imagery of the cartoon Invader Zim.
Oh.
He looks so much like Invader Zim, it's untrue. And if you know Invader Zim, you know Invader Zim.
I don't.
Okay, well, there you go. That just, unsurprisingly, J.J. Abrams has stolen an idea from another creator.
Yeah, I mean, every time that Bad Robot logo comes up, it's funny. In other projects, I always like, oh, that's whimsical and kind of silly and fun. I kind of like seeing it. But when I see it at the end of a Star Wars movie, I'm like, get that shit out of my face.
Yeah, I know. It's so incongruous.
And your
isn't it?
Lucasfilm logo right after it doesn't fix it or help.
That's a bold move, right? That is to say that we're the creative mind behind the series, not Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the last one.
All right. Well, all that's left after so much talking is to know what our listeners think. So,
Yay!
you're going to have to tell us what you think. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Threads.
There we go. See, you sold it that time.
Don't
And no
find us
one
on-
saw you as I did visually parodying your recommendation. So you're in there, friend.
That was for you.
Thank you.
As always, don't find us on X. That's garbage. But send an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. All right. Well, I mean, we have enough. We've talked long enough for a Wookiee to become a full adult. I hope you all have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And by all means, stick around. We'll be talking The Last Jedi when you hear us next. Star Wars, Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Right.
Garbage.
Wow. Putting X and the title of Star Wars movies in the same camp, it's quite a burn.
Just stupid. Just call it The Last Jedi. And be
Actually,
done with it.
don't even call it that. Think of a different title.
Think of a different
One
title
that describes
altogether.
the movie that you're watching. That'd be nice for a change.